Well, good morning and welcome to another RiderCamTV video. And today we are so excited because we are at Kawasaki, Cornwall Kawasaki Centre, and Andy and the team there have very kindly let us take out some Kawasaki's so that we could try. So not only have we done KTMs and BMWs and Hondas and Suzuki's and those sort of bikes, but now we can actually ride some Kawasaki's. And today I am going to take out the Kawasaki Vulcan S. It's a 650. I think it's about 213 kilos, about 61 brake horsepower, 63 newton meters of torque, 17 litre tank. That's all done by memory, so if I get some of those numbers wrong, I apologise, but look at that bike. For a 650, it just looks awesome. I love the styling, and for me this is going to be quite a different review because I've not ridden one of these bikes with my feet forward for a long time. In fact, I can't actually remember riding one at all. So it's going to be quite interesting with seating position, having my feet forward, and I know lots of people, including my neighbour, he's had cruisers for a long time, and he raves about it. He said, oh, you want to try it? It's the most comfortable position to be in. And I kind of get what he means. Touring around on the GS 1200 on long straight roads sometimes, all I want is some highway pegs and to have my feet up. So it'd be interesting to see what this bike is going to be like, how it's going to ride, how it handles. Excited for it to be the first Kawasaki that I've ridden for the channel, which is amazing. And also exciting to see what it's going to feel like, how is my hip going to stay in place, I don't know. But it's going to be quite exciting. And I love this colour. I absolutely love this colour. So, wow. Now that is a lot lower than my GS adventure. A lot lower, as you would imagine, of course. You know, and there is no comparison. How can you compare a GS 1200 adventure to a 650 cruiser? I don't think you can, other than the fact that they are motorbikes, you know, and motorbikes are motorbikes. But first impressions sitting on it, my legs are at the right height. Now I'm 5'9", and people keep asking in the comments how tall we are, and we keep saying, but I'm 5'9", kind of slim to average build, I suppose, about 80 kilos. And I find no problem chucking the GS around. I certainly don't feel that I'm going to have any problem chucking this one around. But my knees are at the correct height just to put both feet down. It's quite strange sitting on a bike and not having your legs stretched right down because there isn't the room because it's so much lower. And obviously we put the specs up round about now so you can see them on the screen somewhere. But I think without further ado, I think we ought to go out and try it. Tell you what's going to be really interesting is using the gear lever and the pedals right at the front, and that's going to be quite alien for me because I've always ridden with my feet down the bottom, so to have them up, it feels quite a natural position to be, although on the left hand side with the gear lever to actually have to move your foot quite a bit against what feels natural for me because I've not ridden one. So we'll see how we get on. But first impressions, the seat, really comfy, really comfy. So we're going to see what it's like. Oh, how nice. Well, very first impressions. Wow. And the first thing that I was thinking, as I've just said before we pulled away, is how am I going to cope with my left foot and cope with lifting or moving my foot for the gear lever. And to be honest, it's such a natural position to be in from the very beginning, just literally getting on the bike. I've ridden a bike like this, but it was, I dare say, about 15, 16 years ago, if not more. So to be honest, it's like riding a bike for the first time. And as soon as I sat on it and pulled away, it was so intuitive to put my foot underneath that gear lever and pull it towards me. I don't feel cramped up at all. And initially looking at the bike, when I was stood there looking at it, it looks so dinky and small compared to what I'm used to riding. And I thought, well, am I going to be cramped up on it? And I know that we've only been going a few minutes, but I don't feel cramped up on this at all. I would probably say that this is one of the most comfortable seating positions on a motorbike that I've ever been on. And I know that seems strange because we've only been riding for a few minutes, but in actual fact, it's really comfortable. And in such a short space of time, I can see why people buy and they have cruiser bikes. I can really see it. Oh my gosh. So, let's talk about the little bits on this bike. So, no quick shifter or anything like that. I'm sure there's loads of extras you can get for it, so have a look at the Kawasaki website and see what you can get for it. But this is the brand new 2019 model, and it's done literally 171 miles. Beautiful colour indeed. I quite like this cruiser style, kind of retro but modern paint job that they do on these bikes now, or a lot of them will have options to do with the matte paint. I think it looks quite good. I think it looks different. I think it just adds something different to the bike. So up front, what have we got? We've got on the left hand side, really, now I'm new to Kawasaki's completely, so, and as with our channel, we're two laymen that get on a motorbike. Figures are okay. We're not really interested in horsepower and CCs and all this jargon, and that's not to put anything, that's not to say that all the people that have made this bike aren't amazing at what they do, or any of the bikes, but the things that interest us are how they ride. You know, we're riders. I'm not an engineer, not a clue how an engine works, and I'm really liking this. So, being new to Kawasaki, I'm not conversant with their controls, although it's no different than, it actually looks very Honda-esque actually, these switches. You've got your headlight switch, you've got a hazard switch, which is good, indicator switch, standard indicator switch, and then a horn, and a kill switch on the other side, and you have a start button, and that is it. The mirrors, they're good actually. I know that in several places and several bikes we've said, you know, the mirrors could do with being a little bit wider because you can't see past your shoulders, but because of the seating position and where the mirrors are placed, actually I've got a really good view of what matters behind me. Got a really good view of everything up front. I don't feel that I'm encased in this bike. Actually, I feel like I'm in it, but on it. And I know that sounds really weird, but I don't feel like I'm encased and trapped in. You know, it's very, very nimble, and the instrument cluster at the front, very basic, but as we've said before, is basic good. You know, we've got lots of new bikes bringing bikes out now with brand new TFT displays and all these Gucci bits and bobs. Great stuff. But do they say anything different than a bog standard no frills thing? I don't know. When I look at this, I know that I've got indicator lights there. I know when I'm in neutral. I know when the headlight's on. I've got fuel. I know what gear I'm in, which is great because there's a lot of bikes that don't have any of those gear indicators on. I know what time it is, the range, and obviously the rev counter is the big dial in the front. What more do you need? Now it has got a spoiler, a screen, but the screen is like the size of a thimble. Now obviously on a bike like this, you're going to get a lot of road a lot of wind in your face, a wind on your body. I can certainly feel more wind on my shoulders and body than I would if I was on my GS or a tourer bike, but that's the point. That's the point of one of these bikes. The point of one of these bikes is that you can do everything I can do on my bike, but in a different style. And perhaps some would say, perhaps more connected to what's going on around you on a bike like this, because you can feel and hear and see things just a little bit more than you can on, say, a GS, where you've got all the protection, and certainly with RTs and things, where you've got all the protection of the windshield and stuff like that, stopping you actually feeling that you're on a bike at sometimes. This is just riding pleasure, this sort of bike. Now, the suspension, it doesn't feel too hard. It feels just right. The gearbox is really quite accurate. And the reason I say it feels quite accurate is that you know that you're in a gear. It's very clunky, not clunky in a bad way, but clunky as in you know when you're in a gear. There's no mistake. And of course it's brand new, so you know, it's very tight, the engine's very tight, but you know, if you could see the smile on my face after riding this one, I think you'd all be laughing as well. I really do. Now, in terms of cornering and chucking the bike around, do you know, it's so flickable and light, and I think it's about 213 kilos in all. So it's really light. But added to that is the fact that the weight is really, really low down. So rather than a touring bike having the weight slightly higher, this is really, really low down. And one thing that I have noticed is stopping at these junctions, I have, and then going again, I've tried to put my feet back on the peg where I think they should be, and then remembered that they are actually way ahead and they're out in front. But by now, usually with some bikes that you're sitting in a different position than you're used to on one of your bikes, there's the odd occasion where off camera we've had to stop because my hip was going to pop out, and I'm sure every biker at some stage has had that sort of feeling when they've got on a bike that's a little bit alien to them and their body's kind of not in the position that they mentally were expecting because it's a different bike, and then your hip is just like painfully sore and you've got to get off and see if you can just move it about before you go off again. I've not had that with this. I feel so comfortable in it. The seat is really nice and spongy, but not too spongy, and where the seat ends right in your coccyx, that's really comfy because it almost feels like you're in an armchair. And it's just the right length away from the pegs. So when I push my body back on the pegs, I can feel it in my coccyx. But it's not like a couple of bikes that we've ridden where you're actually sat too far forward. It's actually really comfortable to be sat in. Now, going around corners, we said that it's nimble and flickable. It really is nimble and flickable. With the weight being so low down, it's just really responsive. And for a 650, you know, at 650, there is nothing wrong with a 650. If I didn't have my 1200, a 650 would be something that I would look at, I'm sure. Because they do everything that you want them to do. But I might be a convert, you know. I might well be a convert to a cruising style of bike. Now, obviously, we're taking a different route today because Kawasaki, the Cornwall Kawasaki Centre is down in a place called Lanna down in Redruth. It's not a million miles away from where we go in Falmouth to the BMW dealership. But we wanted to try and go somewhere a little bit different because we noticed in some of the comments that people have said, oh, you've only taken it to 20 or 30 miles an hour. But unless you've got a bike for the whole day, it's kind of impossible sometimes to get away from the area that you are in order to try it out. So because of where Kawasaki is situated, we're able to take a ride through Redruth and then find some faster roads to see what the bikes perform like, which is quite nice. And then over to the coast you might see some sea, and this will be the other coast. It won't be Falmouth coast, it will be Redruth down by Portreath and Porthtowan for anybody who wants to have a look. And some of the routes, if you ever get a chance to come to Cornwall, some of the routes around the coast are amazing. Not only for the views, but some of the riding around those coasts are just incredible. We really are lucky that in the winter, when we're not touring abroad, on the nice days, we can get out and go around the coast. Now, even in fourth gear, this bike is cracking. Absolutely cracking. Doesn't feel like it's lagging at all. You pull down, that's in fourth. You know, and that's really quite impressed with it. And no, I don't think I'll go out buying one of these, because I just can't afford to keep buying bikes, you know. But what an amazing little machine. I almost feel like I want to put on a leather jacket with tassels and have an open helmet with sunglasses. That's what it makes me feel. Because I think sometimes people like myself and Mark, although we really, really love riding our adventures, because that's the job that we do, we tour around the world, and it's the best job in the world, it really is, second to none, doing what you love and getting paid for it. But, you know, it also means that that bike becomes something that you use for work. And whilst that's great, having something to go out and just purely enjoy because it's a motorbike is something that the more and more we tour, the more and more alien it becomes. Because when we're on the bike, we're kind of working. If we're not working during the winter and we're out riding the bike, we're using it to get to somewhere, because we've kind of got into the mindset of that bike now becoming a work tool. But having something like this, where you could get on, that's completely different to my usual style of bike, would be just incredible, and it kind of put you back in touch with riding a bike and the enjoyment that everybody gets from a bike. So that's in third gear doing 40, and they say that you could, for best results on your bike, well, this is what I was always taught, to kind of keep the rev counter within the but kind of the middle rev range, so that you've got the power, but you've also got the drop off as well. You know, 55, 56, 59, you know, whizzing around these corners, I'm not doing them any faster or really any slower than I would be doing them on my GS, to be honest. And it's coping admirably. The tyres are sticking really well. Don't know what tyres they've got on, but I don't feel that, I feel at one with the bike. I really do. I'm really liking this. Welcome to my new bike. The Kawasaki Vulcan S. It's a great day for Mark and I, because it's the first day that we've actually been able to ride some Kawasaki's, and that's what's been missing from our repertoire of bikes that we're able to take out, because they make some truly good bikes, don't they, Mark?
Yeah, they do.
This is such a lovely bike to ride. I first thought I've not ridden one of these for like 15, 16 years, and I can't remember ever riding one of these, but I know I've ridden one at some point. And I looked at it and I thought, I'm going to get on it, and when I get on it, my hip's going to pop out and we're going to have to stop. But it couldn't be any more of a comfortable position to sit. It's so amazing. And I was wondering how intuitive it would be, having the foot pedal there and the gear lever on the other side, and having to move your foot in a different angle. It was just like I'd always ridden this bike. I got on it and that's what I felt.
Wow.
Really, really nice.
Comedy trip, sir.
But I like it, you know, the visibility all around is really good, and because the weight is so much lower and you're lower, when you come to a stop there's no fighting even if you're on an adverse camber, there's no fighting to find your foot, and if you slipped a little bit, you know, there's more chance of you catching yourself. With my feet like that, you naturally sit back like that. And I reckon what I should have had is an open face helmet with sunglasses, you know, going down the Californian highway. That's what I felt.
Or the road to Portruth.
Or the road to Portruth.
Which is really noisy.
And do you know, Mark, I think you'll agree with this, because we use our bikes all the time for work. At some point along the line, even though we love riding, we kind of lose the excitement of being on that bike, because we're always working and we're riding. It's the best job in the world, don't get me wrong. But when you get on something like this, I know why people ride these bikes.
Really?
Yeah. To feel, we ride on our adventures, and you've got RTs and all these things that are brilliant bikes. They've got all the gadgets that kind of take some of the feeling away from how you ride it in some cases. But because they encase you with protection, you know, you feel all the wind here and in your face. And obviously grotty days it's going to be horrible on this bike, but in the summer, wow! I love it. I love the fact that it's a matte black, and you can get different colours, but for a 650 it's got some real power. Our channel has always been about two people getting on a bike and riding it. We're not really interested in the figures, but the figures for this stack up really well. It's got really good torque and newton meters. It's brake horsepower. It's got a big enough tank for a couple of 100 miles, I would say. It's got all the gadgets on it, but what we're interested in and what we try and bring across on the video is two people that are getting on a bike to ride it and just telling you how we get on with it. That's our review. We're not mouthpieces for manufacturers. And when we like something, we like it, and we can't hide it. That's the problem. Give Mark smiling behind the camera. But the seat is wonderful. The seat is, because we rode the Honda X ADV, didn't we? That scooter.
Yep.
And it was the best scooter I've ever ridden, but it needed the seat to go back a little bit.
Okay.
On this, I was thinking perhaps I'm going to have the same issue, but I'm not, because it's like those Sergeant seats that you can get for the BMW, because it's actually cut out and it holds all of you, and because your feet are up, you're not getting sore thighs after a while because they're hanging down over the seat. But it's really comfy, and that bit there, it's right up against your coccyx, and it's just such a comfortable place to be. Just such a comfortable place to be. I think it'd even be quite good with a pillion on there, although
a small pillion.
Although, if you've got a bike like this, why would you share it with anyone? Why? But, you know, it's got all the things that we hate about bikes. It's got a chain, it's got no heated grips, it's got no protection.
Hate is such a strong word,
well,
mate.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's got no wind protection. But do you know what? Even though we don't like those things, on a bike like this, it turns out to be something that is really likeable about it.
Okay, let's have a look at the stuff.
Right. So the stuff we've got, switch gear. We spoke briefly about it when we were riding, but it reminds me of the Hondas actually. Very, very Honda-esque buttons, but proper clicks when you've hit them. And everything's labelled really well, so you know exactly where it is. Now bear in mind, we've not ridden any Kawasaki's, or I certainly haven't for a long time. There was no fishing around for any of the dials. It was all in the right place.
That's handy.
Yeah, it is. But it shows you that they do their homework.
Yeah.
The mirrors, they're not... We very often say on bikes that they should be out further, but because of your seating position, I don't need to see where my shoulders are, and I can't see my shoulders. I kind of see a little bit here, but all of the road.
Cool.
I was blown away with how much road I can see. Now obviously, you know, the style of the bike, perhaps the shape of the mirror is a little bit too retro for the shape of the bike, but it kind of goes in. But functionality over design, over aesthetics, perhaps it does exactly what it should do. The brakes are really responsive, the clutch is really good, you can adjust that as well. And then we come to the nice little speedo and dials here. Now they are really basic.
Hard to see though in this light, unfortunately.
It is. Oh, you've got it there. It's really basic, but it's got everything you need. You know, and with all these manufacturers going on and making TFT screens and having all this stuff connected to it, what do you need to know? You need to know how fast you're going, how fast the engine's going, how much fuel you've got left, and 9 times out of 10 what gear you're in.
Yeah.
Other than that, do you need to know anything else? And that's got everything right in the right place, and I didn't find that I was fishing around with my eyes to see where things were at all. Really, really liked it.
It's quite a small bike, isn't it?
It is very, very small.
I mean, it's a big bike if you get my meaning, but it looks shorter than it actually is.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any kind of sense, does it?
It's long. It feels longer than my GS or any bikes that I've ridden for a while, but I don't think probably isn't that long. I think it's the rake of the front here, because one thing I did notice, slight negative I guess, is I'm used to a GS doing that and turning on a sixpence. On this, because the rake of the steering is so much more out, the turning circles are so much wider, but you know, that's a tiny cross to bear. The indicators, they're bright. I don't think they're LED though, are they?
No, they're not. You know, probably fits in with the retro style of the bike, but I am glad about one thing. When people do these retro style bikes, when it comes down to the suspension, I don't like those old, personally, I don't like the old, like, springy suspension.
Yeah,
the
ones that they have on the outside. Yeah.
You know, I'm sure they work and I'm sure people love them. It's just something I don't like.
You know, it's
because they got this thing here.
Yeah, and it's all hidden away. It's all styled nicely. The casings look really good. And if I had a bike like this would be pristine all the time. You know, it would be one of the bikes.
No way.
Yeah, if you saw my adventure at the moment, you would probably hate me forever. But a bike like this is a bike like you can go out and do anything that I can do on my adventure, but just in a different style. I absolutely love it.
Cool.
Really love it. The exhaust out the way, I don't catch my feet on it. I'll tell you one thing that I did do. So I come up to a junction and I've sat down like that. I invariably kept my foot there because I had the brake, but on the other side, as I drove away, tried to find the bag here, and then realised that it's not there. But brilliant. No centre stand, but it's got a nice side stand. Yeah, what can I say? It's just a really, really nice bike. So when are you getting yours? No, I can't. The bank manager will kill me. And my life won't be worth living if I buy one before I get home. But an amazing little bike for loads of uses, and it's proved to me, because I've never thought, why have those people bought those bikes? Never ever, because people buy the bike that they want to buy. But I've often wondered whether I would like to ride one of these bikes. And the answer is yes. It's given me a bit of an enjoyment in a different way on a motorbike. It's really hard to explain, but it's really excited me, this bike. So go out and get yours. Thanks to everybody down at the Cornwall Kawasaki Centre, Andy and the rest of the team down there kindly letting us take these Kawasaki's out. So if you've liked this video, give it a massive thumbs up. It really does help us a lot. Leave a comment, preferably not nasty ones. The down button is there if you want to use it, but we prefer you using that one. Hit the subscribe button and we'll see you in the next video.